All right, guys. So we got to talk about some comments from Joe Rogan in regards to President Trump coming on his podcast, which is something that people like me and I feel like a whole lot of the world really want to see. Okay, it will probably be the most popular Joe Rogan episode ever. Okay, however, Joe Rogan has avoided Trump coming on his podcast. And he has came out recently with more comments as to why he's ducking Trump that I find to be extremely disappointing. Okay, considering how, this guy is basically trying to cancel somebody that stood up for him while he was being canceled. And we're going to talk more about that specifically after we play Joe Rogan's comments. But first, I want to talk about some of Joe Rogan's previous comments before this recent podcast episode we're going to talk about, in which he did address rumors that Trump was coming on the podcast in the past. We're talking about around March of this year, in which, again, Trump had just went on the Nelk Boys podcast, and everybody thought, okay, well, Trump's making his rounds on podcasts. Is he going on Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan came out and dispelled the rumors at the time and said that, quote, "I am very apolitical. When it comes to the future and political candidates, I don't want to have that kind of influence. I want to be someone who can watch and observe. I don't want to be someone who's actually affecting that." So he's implying that he's not having any more politicians on his podcast. Now, up until that comment, Rogan previously had 11 politicians on his podcast, including people like Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang. In my opinion, mostly leftists, to be quite honest with you, at least what I can think of off the top of my head. But again, the mainstream liberal media says this guy's far right. But again, he supported leftists in the past and had him on his podcast. But for some reason, he just won't have Trump on, okay? And in this recent Joe Rogan episode with Lex Fridman, he goes into more detail as to why he doesn't want Trump to come on the podcast. And he basically states that the reason why is because he doesn't want to help Trump. Take a look.
The Trump era is also going to be one of the weirder times when people look back historically about the division in this country. He's such a polarizing figure that so many people felt like they could abandon their own ethics and morals and principles just to attack him and anybody who supports him because he is an existential threat to democracy itself.
But don't you think it's not a cause, but maybe like a symptom? Like it's going to get, you said it got real weird. Maybe it's going to get weirder.
Yeah, I think it's going to get weirder. He's going to run again.
You think he wins?
Get weird. Well, he's running against a dead man. I mean, Biden shakes hands with people that aren't even there when he gets off stage.
Yeah.
I think he's seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Did you see him on Jimmy Kimmel the other day?
No.
Well, he was just rambling. I mean, if he was anyone else, if he was a Republican, if that was Donald Trump doing that, every fucking talk show would be screaming for him to be off the air. And by the way, I'm not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form. I've had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once. I've said no every time. I don't want to help him. I'm not interested in helping him.
The night is still young. We'll see.
If I have him on, the night is still young?
Yeah.
You think I'll have him on?
I think you'll have him on.
Really? Yeah. Why do you think that? Because you'll have Putin on?
And you're competitive as fuck. No. I think ultimately, I mean, you've had a lot of people that I think you may otherwise be skeptical. Would I have a good conversation? Which I think is your metric. You don't care about politics, so can I have a good conversation? And I think you had like people like Kanye on, for example, and you had a great conversation with him. I think yeah, but
Kanye is an artist. But Kanye doing well or not doing well doesn't change the course of our country.
Yeah, so the only part of that interview that I agree with in regards to Joe Rogan's comments is the part where, yes, if President Trump, when he was in office, was as brain dead as Joe Biden is right now, yeah, the mainstream liberal media will be calling for his head, okay? They'll be like, no, this guy cannot be president. He needs a mental evaluation, 25th Amendment, right? Get this man out of office. However, because it's Biden and he's a Democrat, they're not covering his mental deficiencies the same way they will be covering it if Trump was exhibiting those same patterns of behavior that Biden routinely displays on a daily basis. Yes, Rogan is 100% right about that. Everything else, I just can't agree with. And honestly, it makes me lose respect for Joe Rogan. It really does, because I do respect the guy, even though I don't agree with his political opinions. I respect the fact that he brands his platform as an open platform where people can come on the platform and give opinions, even if they're opinions that he doesn't necessarily like. Okay, and this guy has been subject to cancel culture from the mainstream liberal media because they falsely framed him as some far right white supremacist, and he's not. And Trump has come out here and defended Rogan numerous times from cancellation. Okay, he's defended Rogan. However, Rogan has the opportunity to bring Trump on because apparently Trump wants to come on, and it is smart if Trump wants to come on. I've actually said I don't understand why Trump has not been on the Joe Rogan podcast, because it would be the most popular podcast in history if Trump went on. Okay, it would have the most views. Everybody would watch it. And apparently we're getting our answer. Trump has tried to come on. Rogan has just been saying no. And I'm pretty sure this has probably been happening for a while. And even despite the fact that Rogan has been ducking Trump, Trump still came out here and defended Rogan from cancellation, which shows you the character of Trump, right? Shows you the character of Trump, okay? That he's standing on his principles when it comes to the whole cancellation thing, because Trump could have easily been like, well, you trying to cancel me, right? You're not allowing me to come on your podcast because, you know, you don't want to help me, but I'm still defending you from cancellation. And the idea that, well, you know, I don't want to bring Trump on my show because I don't want to help him is a very silly idea to me, because it's like, I don't necessarily know how much more value Joe Rogan is going to add to Trump by letting Trump come on his show versus how much value Trump is going to add to Joe Rogan by coming on his show, okay? Because I think that Joe Rogan is going to benefit more from Trump than Trump is going to benefit from Joe Rogan. I mean, again, it's not like Trump is Andrew Yang, who was a nobody at the time when he went on to Joe Rogan's podcast, and that essentially propelled his candidacy to relevancy, right? He became relevant because of Joe Rogan. That's not Trump. Trump is a former president, right? You're going to benefit a lot more from Trump than Trump is going to benefit from you, right? Like, Trump does not need your audience, okay? So I think what is actually happening here, Joe Rogan is afraid of getting canceled. I think that's what it is. I think it has to be something with Spotify, where maybe Spotify is like, look, we're going to draw the line with Trump. We're not going to let Trump come on. Maybe that's it. I'm not sure. Maybe he's afraid that his audience might try to cancel him for bringing Trump on, which, again, I don't really understand why he would think that, considering how, you know, the guy is already framed as a far-right white supremacist from the leftist media. I don't think him bringing on Trump would necessarily alienate anybody who's continuing to watch his podcast. I think that maybe he might be afraid that, you know, hey, a lot of his audience are Trump supporters, and maybe if he brings Trump on and he directly clashes with Trump on certain issues, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't agree with Trump on a lot of stuff, but I'm pretty sure he does agree with Trump on some stuff as well too. But I'm just saying, maybe he gets in some clash with Trump, maybe the interview doesn't go well, and maybe he loses some of his audience. I don't know what it is. Right? I really don't. I don't understand exactly what it is. It can't be, well, I don't want to help the guy. Because if that's the case, you're treating Trump the same way that the mainstream liberal media treated you. Right? If you have the opportunity to bring on a former president, I don't care who it is. Okay? If you have the opportunity to bring on a former president, you do it. Okay? I would definitely bring on Trump. Right? If he wanted to come on my show, I would be honored. Okay? Even if I couldn't post it on YouTube because of some of the claims they make, I would post it on Rumble, right? I would post it on Rumble. I'll post it on some other platform. I would do it because it is a president. And when you have the opportunity to sit down and interview with a president, you do it, okay? Regardless of whether or not you like the guy. Because that is an opportunity to have an open conversation with him about things that you don't like. Which I thought that's what Joe Rogan's podcast was supposed to be about. I thought that's what your podcast was supposed to be about. But apparently not. Apparently it's not an open platform for debate and discussion like I thought it was, right? Because, I mean, this excuse right here from Joe Rogan is BS, man. It really is. And it's making me lose a little bit of respect. Again, I still respect the fact that he says things, you know, regardless of whether or not people like it, whether or not his audience like it. But this thing that he has with Trump and not allowing him to come on the platform, to me, is really leaving a sour taste in my mouth, right? There's something going on here in the background that Joe Rogan is not agreeing with when it comes to Trump and his party. Maybe he doesn't agree with the interview format, right? Maybe Trump doesn't want to sit down for 3 hours. Maybe, you know, he wants the questions to be already given to Trump so that Trump is prepared to answer. You know how it is when it comes to interviewing politicians and stuff like that. And, at this point, Trump technically is a politician. So, I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe he doesn't have the opportunity to have a real raw conversation with Trump the way he wants to have with Trump. Because I remember, Rogan stating that he had an opportunity to interview Trump at the White House, but they wanted to do some like 20-minute interview or something like that. And Rogan was like, yeah, that's just not my style. Right? I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. Or if not, then I'm not going to do it. And maybe that's it. But, this whole excuse that he's giving that, well, I just don't want to help the guy, indicates that, there's something going on that, again, it's just not rubbing me the right way, right? When it comes to Joe Rogan and his excuses for why he doesn't want to bring Trump on, because I really don't understand why not. Again, the guy is a former president. It would be the most popular podcast episode in history. Okay, it would make history. It would trigger the mainstream level media. It would be the ultimate revenge for all the people that try to cancel you. It would be a middle finger to the establishment. Why not? Why not, Joe? I don't get it. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.